So you gave us the best segue into our experience in India. Wow. And we are going to talk about how many different ways that we experienced the wow in India. Usually we don't talk about a trip to India by church group as a pilgrimage. It is usually said about going to Holy Land or someplace in Europe where people have experienced Mary in apparition and all that. So that is usually the pilgrimage. But pilgrimage is something when you go to places that are not familiar, strange place, and experience something wonderful. And that wow experience is our pilgrimage. And so we are going to talk about how differently or how many different ways that we experience that by the members who went from St. Paul's, and 7 people, including Susan and I, and then we had another 12 people from other churches joined. So we were a group of 19 people, and we spent about close to 18 days, not counting the days we traveled. But so so one by one, we will talk about that.
I think for many of us, myself included, one of the images that immediately comes to mind when somebody mentions India is that of the Taj Mahal. We traveled to Agra and got there in the middle of the afternoon, and everybody had told us, this is not a good time to go, it's going to be really crowded, you want to wait and go first thing in the morning. So we went to the fort there in Agra. Now, our guide was explaining to us all of the different aspects of the fort, built by the Mughals several hundred years ago, beautiful baths, a section for the wives and the concubines, another section where the ruler would receive his subjects from the nobles down to the poorest people in the country. An amazing bathhouse, much of it built out of marble, beautiful gardens and fountains. And then we were on this one terrace, and we looked through the narrow windows there, and what we could see in the distance was the Taj Mahal, wreathed in what seemed like mist, but given the quality of the air was probably smog. But there it stood. And then the next morning, after getting up while it was still dark and making our way to the entrance, we waited with hundreds of other people for the gates to open and to actually enter inside. We had the opportunity to see it from far away and from up close, and we were able to watch the play of light as the light changed on the marble. We were also able, as we got closer, to see the beautiful inlay work that decorated the Taj Mahal, precious and semi-precious stones that had been carved by expert artisans. It was such an incredible experience, as were many of the other amazing buildings that we were able to see throughout the northern part of India. Some were tombs, some were built as monuments to commemorate something, some were forts, which also served as palaces for the rulers of that time. And then we got to southern India. And while there were interesting architectural things to see there, particularly in the temples and the churches, what struck me is that all that grandeur of the Mughal edifices was not there in the southern part of India. And I got to thinking, the Mughal rulers chose to spend their money making a great display to impress people, and in many ways, to inspire people as they were able to look at these beautiful monuments. But in the South, the rulers chose to spend their money in a different way, trying to improve the lives of the people who were their subjects. And it made me think about the ways that we choose to spend our own money. It was an amazing reminder and one of the early parts of an amazing trip.
On our own travels, I'm the one who figures out how to ride the buses and trains. I like to share some information or observations about transportation in India. In India, they have a number of reserves for elephants, wild elephants, but they also have some tame elephants that mostly for tourists can ride, which is an interesting experience. They move very slowly, and it's like riding a small boat in a violent storm. Also, after you ride the elephants, you have a chance to brush them down and give them a bath, and they are trained so they can take water in their trunks and spray it on a person that's riding on the elephant's back, which is an interesting experience. In larger cities, they have small, what they call auto rickshaws or tuk-tuks, which are like a motorcycle with a cabin behind them for people. And the name tuk-tuk comes from the sound that the small engines make, tuk-tuk. And in the bigger cities like Delhi, they have thousands of these vehicles around. They're used for short trips. And they're able to, we rode a tuk-tuk with our 2 suitcases, 2 backpacks, and the 2 of us, and it was a fairly good ride. They also have what they call petty rickshaws, which are essentially a bicycle, but with a passenger cabin behind. The tuk-tuks or the pedicabs, they don't have seat belts or airbags, so you have to, you're at your own risk. They also have in the cities metro systems. 17 cities in India have metro systems. The largest one is in Delhi itself. They have 257 stations and 10 different lines that are color-coded. Some of the colors kind of run together. We didn't travel these lines, but they have a red line, a pink line, and a magenta, so I'm not sure how you would figure it out in those stations. The fares are quite inexpensive. For the smallest trips of less than a mile, the fare is 11 rupees, which is about 12 cents. For the longest trips, which are over 20 miles, the fare is about 70 cents. We found that when we rode the trains, people were very friendly and accommodating. On all the trains, on almost all the trains, even those that were very crowded, people offered us seats, either because we looked very old or because we looked like foreigners. I'm not sure which. They also helped us get around, where to get off the stations and things like that. They had some conversations with various people. The trains run frequently, and before entering, they have a security check. Women are in one line, and men are in another line. One thing I found very interesting in the system was that with the different colored lines, when you transfer from one line to another, sometimes it's very complicated. You go upstairs, downstairs, across bridges, through crowded concourses, and there are signs, but sometimes they're hard to follow. But they have a system where if you exit one line, like if you exit the yellow line, and are looking for the blue line, they have painted on the floor these blue footsteps, like a foot with toes, and you just follow the blue steps, step after step, and it leads you right to the other line, which is really quite an innovation, I thought.
It's a lot easier to speak in the chapel, you guys. So I was asked to speak on the geography of India. So India is the 7th largest country, and as most of you know, it is now the most populated country in the world. But in terms of size, it's 1/3 the size of the continental United States. I think of it as a kind of a diamond shape like this, and because of its shape, it's very, very spread out. So from north to south is approximately 2,000 miles, and from its east to west points is approximately 1,800 miles. It is the only country on Earth that has all of the Earth's climate zones within its borders. So if you think about in the northern part of the country, it is essentially the mountains, the Himalayas, or in India, the Himalayas, separate India from China, Nepal, Pakistan from those countries. And then on the give me just a second to get my mind squared away on my own direction here. On the eastern side of the country, it is the Bay of Bengal, and on the western side, it's the Arabian Sea, and to the south, it is the Indian Ocean. So now, when you think about these climate zones, what happens is, even though it doesn't go obviously clear up to the Arctic, because of the mountains in the north and the high elevation, it has Arctic-like climate. And then in the far south, it goes almost all the way to the equator and is tropical. In the northwest, it has desert, and in the northeast, it has plains. Let's see here if I'm missing anything. I think I've pretty well got it. Essentially, it's considered a subcontinent of Asia, so basically with Asia being the larger continent and it being a subcontinent to Asia.
Good morning. The last stop on our trip before we made the long trip home was the city of Chennai. And it's a city of about 7 million in the southeast, so on the Bay of Bengal. And there is the International Cathedral of St. Thomas, and St. Thomas is actually entombed there. It's a little overwhelming to be around, someone who is that close to Jesus, and to be knowing that that's his final resting place there. The day we visited the cathedral, it was Advent, and there was a lively group of musicians playing both traditional hymns and a few, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer in there. Very interesting. The cathedral is a beautiful, white, soaring Gothic building. And we learned that in the 90s it had fallen into disrepair, leaks in the roof, all sorts of issues that they had. So they had a major capital campaign. And on that Christmas Day in 2004, it was a grand celebration to celebrate the completion of all that work. And the very next day was the great tsunami. A 9.2 earthquake in the Indian Ocean triggered the tsunami. Probably the worst of any natural disaster in history, where we think there was something on the order of 220,000 people lost to that. And there in Chennai, all along the beaches are just so many, it must be hundreds of fishermen that just park their boats on the beach during the evening and go out during the day to fish. On the day of the tsunami, no one had seen a tsunami there, so the water went out as it does in a tsunami, and the fishermen were excited. They thought, good, we don't even have to go in our boats. We just pick up the fish. And then the water came back. And they think there on the east coast of India, maybe 50,000 people were lost to that. And that beautiful, newly renovated cathedral became a shelter for months and months while they put their lives back together, basically. So you never know. you never know how God moves a community to help a community. So, yeah.
Hello. I love to travel, but India was never on my radar. It has too many people, you can't drink the water, is it safe? But when the, excuse me, when the offer came up from Reverend Koshy to take this trip, I thought I'd never, ever get another chance like this, to go with someone who lives there and a great Episcopalian tour group. It was great. I came home from that trip with a sense of all the different ways humanity can worship God, their vision of God, and still get along, and still be integrated into communities. A couple examples are one night in Delhi, we went to a Sikh temple, beautiful lit up gold, and we got to go in and watch the service. No shoes, of course, you took your shoes off. No cell phones, so you had to be in the moment, you were there. A lot beautiful lights, candles all around you, and the leader was saying prayers, reading from the book, and you just walked around, and then beautiful fountain outside. And then they took us to the place that the Sikhs do their work, a huge kitchen. I mean, 20 times St. Paul's size, feeding 500, 600 people every day. No, they don't take tickets. You just go. If you're hungry, you eat. And they do that on a regular basis. They had huge storerooms filled with flour, rice, all the food. And the community, that's what they do. They feed people and they do other things for helping the poor among them or that are not part of their community. In southern India, in Kerala region, we went to a Hindu celebration, again, at night, took off our shoes, and the Hindus have lots of gods that they celebrate and pray to, and they had little stations for different gods, and we couldn't go into those stations because we weren't Hindu, but you could see what was happening, and you walked around. It was all candlelight, really beautiful. Fireworks going off for if you wanted to celebrate a certain god. You went over and the guy threw up some fireworks for you. They were feeding coconuts to another god, dancing to another one, singing. All families having this community celebration that they do regularly. A couple of us thought if we could get that many people to come to St. Paul's on a Saturday night, we'd be in business. It'd be so great. Somehow my kids didn't come here on Saturday nights. But I came away with the thought that here we saw Muslims, Hindus, Jews. We went to Christian St. Thomas's churches, all living together peacefully, all celebrating the way they celebrate spirituality in a different way. It's a lesson for all of us on how to get along. And it made me think Christ's vision is quite possible. Thank you.
Hello. Koshy and I enjoyed taking our friends from St. Paul to India to introduce them the different aspects of our country. Our country means my birth country. Out of this, we want to talk about food. That's my job. You know, Indian cuisine, because everybody clearly enjoyed the variety of food from the hotels and from the local restaurants. But there is a stereotype that Indian food is hot and spicy. It may be true, but the thing is, people in India now, or before, is a mix of migration from all over the world. I can say Britain, Portugal, Far East, China. So we have that variety of food, we have to say eclectical food, to serve. traditional Hindu food is vegetarian, but the food from north and the south is very different. They are vegetarian, but can be bland, can be spicy. But when we come to the south, they serve non-veg, even beef, because you are not supposed to serve any beef in the north. That's a no-no. And I'm especially happy to note that our friends enjoyed the cuisine from the south, where we are from, and also the greenery there because of the coconut plantation, the rivers and the beaches, everything. And also they enjoyed the boat ride, we call the houseboat, and a delicious food. I think they enjoyed it, including myself.
Just to cap it, that our gospel lesson end with this verse. Indeed, God did not send the Son into the world to condemn the world, but in order that the world might be saved through him. So, usually people hear only the first part of that, God so loved the world that, but they don't hear much about God condemning. My son and I used to talk about how many Indians and how different ways they worship and all that. And then he always asked this thing, are all these people going to be condemned because they are not Christians? And, you come to India and you see that how different religions seriously take their religion and they worship and they celebrate and they do that. And they do it together. Within a small block, you can see Hindu temple, Muslim mosque, synagogue, and Hindu temple, all within the space. And they help each other out in their celebrations. So, as Susan said, yes, God's dream is quite possible, and I say wow to that. And one of the places that, the last place that we visited was the college that I went to. It's called CMS College, Church Mission Society. Started that college over 200 years ago, and now it is on its own, and without any support from overseas and all that, and they are struggling. But they gave us a wonderful treat. All of us were, VIPs there, and, we worshipped in the chapel, and then had lectures about the history of Christianity and all that. So the fact that St. Thomas came 2,000 years ago, is, you go there and you witness that, yes, the church is so very well established in that part of the world. And it was through the early mission of one of Jesus' disciples, and then later on by the missionaries, like the CMS College started and all that. So it is quite possible that all these things are together, worshiping God. And so to me, I think, it's continue to be a wonder, a wow experience for us.